Shopping for humans is hard. Shopping for your dog is easy thanks to Bark. Every month, we deliver toys and treats just for your dog. Whether it's fun plush or tough toys for heavy chewers, we spoil all the dogs. Subscribe now and get a free upgrade at barkbox.com/iHeart.
With the best all-inclusive vacation deals to Mexico and the Caribbean, booking your getaway with Cheap Caribbean Vacations means you have more freedom to do your deal. Whether you want to enjoy snorkeling, endless margaritas, and more, or simply soak up the sun and sand in a tropical paradise, Cheap Caribbean Vacations has your deal for that. Plan and book the exact getaway you want at exactly the right price for you by using our exclusive Budget Beach Finder, or find a featured all-inclusive package to Paradisus by Malia Hotels, and do your deal at cheapcaribbean.com.
Episode 102, Financial Tips for When Money is Tight.
Welcome to the Frugal Friends podcast, where you'll learn to save money, embrace simplicity, and live a richer life. Here are your hosts, Jen and Jill.
Welcome to another episode of the Frugal Friends podcast. My name is Jen.
My name's Jill.
And we are responding to a lot of the stuff that happened in the month of March. Mm-hmm. And we think that this is going to be a really important episode for the next couple months.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I know it is for me.
For sure. As independent contractors and freelancers, we are sitting with you in financial uncertainty. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We don't have salaries to fall back on.
Yeah.
We work in some industries that could be considered volatile. So we are looking for this advice as much as we are giving it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Money is tight. I think on this financial journey, it will continue to ebb and flow. Mm-hmm. Like there is no guarantee of this kind of onward and upward trajectory. Things change. There are losses of jobs. There are dips in the economy. There are pandemics, although that seems to happen just about every 100 years. The pandemic is not something that you normally would need to prepare for, but there are natural disasters. There's all kinds of things that could warrant either an individual financial crisis, a local, a national, or a global financial crisis. And I think it's important to know how to respond, but also how to prepare. That I think what this experience is highlighting for me is that when this all kind of comes to a close in some respect, that how do I prepare for something similar in the future? I'm seeing some areas that I would have liked to have been better prepared. I also see some areas where I'm super grateful that, holy smokes, I'm so glad. Yeah, no one saw this coming, and yet like we are okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, wherever we're at in this process, I think it's important to know, how do we respond in the immediate, and then how do we prepare for the future?
Yeah. So let's get into it. But first, our sponsors.
Also brought to you by tight squeeze. That feeling when you can barely make ends meet and you are wringing out that dollar for all it's worth. Sometimes our financial situation can feel like a tight squeeze, but our sponsor wants to remind us that this term can also refer to the best, most warmest hug from our loved one. So when you're looking at your budget, wondering how you're going to pay your bills, don't think of it like a snake coiling around you, causing anxiety and panic. Think of it like a warm hug coming from your finances. Tight squeeze, when feeling constricted, is a good thing.
Oh, you gave people the worst mental picture ever, Jill. What are you trying to do here?
No, I gave a different perspective with the tight squeeze.
My budget is giving me a tight hug, like from that aunt that you don't really know or don't really enjoy from the Easter
from your
gathering.
Favorite niece or nephew. Not that you have a favorite, right? They're all great.
Okay.
From all of your nieces and nephews. So just a tight squeeze.
A tight hug, but like virtual or imaginary, because like don't touch people right now.
Yes.
All right. Let's get into our first article. And this one's from Investopedia. It's 10 ways to prepare for a personal financial crisis. So this one is written specifically for personal financial crises, but you can translate it to any financial crisis.
Yeah. And we're not going to go through all 10. We're going to go through our top faves.
Yeah. So my first favorite one, and you heard us say this a few weeks ago, maximize your liquid savings. And that means boost your emergency fund in whatever way possible. So your checking, savings, things that are accessible. So if you are having a tough time making ends meet, that means maybe not paying off extra debt, not investing past the match at your work, or maybe not investing at all right now. This isn't blanket advice for everyone. You have to do what is right for your family in the amount of emergency fund you anticipate you'll need, which is, normally 3 to 6 months.
Yeah. The next is to make a budget. So this is, right, you're going to have this just about in every single one of our episodes. And so if you haven't done this yet, make a budget.
Tired of hearing it? Too bad.
This is the tight squeeze you need. So know how much you have coming in and going out. Like it sounds so simple, but it is that simple. We need to know what we're bringing in and where it's going. And this specifically as it relates to personal financial crises, it can help us know and identify how much we should have in our emergency fund. So where we're saying to have an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months, you're only going to know what you need for 3 to 6 months based on looking at a budget and knowing what are your bills, what are your expenses, what kind of money do you have coming in, and to take advantage of the time that you have currently, if you have it, to be able to look at the budget and then build up that emergency fund.
Yeah. And how do you know whether you need 3 or 6 months or 4 or 5? A few things. Job volatility is going to play a big factor. So do you work in an industry that could be impacted? So like travel or, we had Airbnb guests that canceled several weeks in a row. And if we were relying on that income, we would have lost it. Because Airbnb refunded 100% of travel. So we didn't even get short-term stuff.
Yeah.
So if you're working in an industry that is already volatile without a financial crisis, if you are a freelancer, contractor, hourly employee, then you need to be on the higher side.
Yeah.
If you work in an industry that is stable, one that is like booms more in times of financial crises, usually like government and school, those are typically pretty stable, though government shutdowns can impact that. But those you can be on the lower side. And those are just a few examples.
Yeah, I do think that our recent experience with COVID-19 has shown us that even if you are in a stable environment, personal financial crises can happen on a global scale. Where we would typically, where typically financial recommendations have gone to, all right, take a look at whether or not your industry is volatile. Well, we just saw everything gets impacted.
Everything can
when
be
there
volatile.
is a global health crisis or where there might be natural disasters. So still probably being on the lower end could be fine. We don't typically see these things last for longer than 3 months. But then to play catch up, we don't know what then the lingering impact is. So it could be worth considering being on the more generous side of this, regardless of where you are, because we can't just count on looking at whether or not our individual work environments are volatile or not.
Right, for sure. But if your income is not high enough to get to 6 months feasibly, then, don't panic. But make your budget in a way that takes out all of your, non-essential spending. And that way, a certain amount that would have maybe only lasted you 3 months, you can see after making a budget that, this actually lasts me for 5 months.
And not to linger on this for too long, but I would even say practice, right? We could say bare minimum of my budget is this much. Usually I spend this much, but if in a crisis, this is what I would do. Okay. have we practiced that? Do we know that we're capable of bringing our budget down to the bare minimum? It could be worth engaging in some no-spend challenges to even stretch that muscle in the event that there's a personal financial crisis, to know, can I actually do this? Do I have the willpower to live at my bare minimum?
Yeah, definitely. Another thing on here is to prepare to minimize your monthly bills. So taking a look at your recurring expenses and calling people to see how you can lower your rates. And even if you can't get discounts, calling to see how you can lower, increase your deductible to get a lower monthly payment. Anything that can lower your bills right now so that you can stay current.
Yeah.
I think it's most important during something like this to just focus on staying current. It doesn't have to be the best overall financial decision, but if you can stay current, then you can bounce back quicker after and then go back to your more like aggressive financial ways.
Yeah. I also liked number 5 on here, which talks about taking stock of your non-cash assets and maximizing their value. So this was an interesting take on just basically getting creative with finances. And this would probably be when you are in the midst of a personal financial crisis, to take a look at, if you have a credit card. I know a lot of people don't, and that's the wise decision for you. If you happen to have one, and maybe it's offering points, some sort of even potentially cash value or gift card value for those points, it could be worth considering cashing in those points to buy groceries online or your Amazon purchases, rather than stacking them up for a vacation. It could be worth utilizing those so you can free up as much of your other cash for the essentials.
I know that can hurt.
Yeah.
Like that can be really painful.
Yeah.
But these are unique times.
Yeah.
So you might take a painful hit in some places.
Yeah.
It's just kind of what happens when money's tight.
Yeah, we talk about peripheral impact. Again, when with COVID-19, it's the peripheral impact of finances, but then with a personal financial crisis, the peripheral impact can be loss and disappointment of even fun things. Like, we were going to use those points to go on vacation, and it looks like now we've got to use it to buy groceries. Yeah, that's a real thing. And we can get into a bit more just the emotional aspect of walking through financial crisis and how to maintain in the midst of that. But yeah, there's going to be some loss and some peripheral impact as a result of this.
And it is okay to grieve that.
Yes.
You don't have to be happy about it.
Yes. Yeah. And groceries, right? And we've talked about this in a lot of different episodes too. What do you have on hand? Can you clear out your freezer? Can you use up your canned goods? Can you minimize the number of ingredients that you need in different recipes and make that stretch as much as possible?
Yeah.
Food is a big area of spending for us. It's necessary, but in difficult circumstances, can we decrease the amount that we would normally spend?
Yeah, definitely food and utilities. Maybe we're heading into warmer months where, at least in Florida, electricity costs really get higher. One of your options is going to a fixed payment plan where it evens out your payments all year long. So instead of seeing higher rates in the summer, you kind of see one payment all year long. So even your lower months are a little higher. So that's an option for meeting your electricity and probably even utility costs in some areas.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. The last thing on here that I liked was keep up with routine maintenance. We have routine maintenance for our bodies, for our automobiles, for our homes. We cannot forget those in a time of financial crisis. Even though things are tough, we still have to keep up with these routine maintenance responsibilities because if we don't, that they will be more costly in the future.
Yeah.
So if this is something you need to dip into your emergency fund for, it will be money well spent. Try not to. That's why we say make a budget, cut your expenses. But definitely routine maintenance is something to stick with.
Still important, yeah. The last one on here for me that stuck out is number 8, which is look for ways to earn extra cash. Once we've looked at cutting spending, we've decreased our bills as much as possible, then it's time to say, and then how can I bring in more money? Again, I am not glossing over the first step. I think that's the most important and produces the most long-lasting impact to our finances. But where there is personal financial crisis and a lack of finances to meet even basic needs, what are some ways that we can be bringing in extra money? So whether that is selling things in your home, having a garage sale or a yard sale, or selling things on Facebook Marketplace, or it's babysitting, right? Even going back to our teenage days of just some ways to get some money, just a little bit of extra cash, cleaning for people, different side hustles. We've got an episode on side hustles, so feel free to check that out.
Yeah.
I also think, in depending on the circumstances of a personal financial crisis, if you are not able to get out and about as much, or the crisis has to do with, a natural disaster, like what we just saw with the coronavirus, and people are limiting their exposure to the outdoors and other people, it could also be worth considering how to build up other skills, taking advantage of the time to do the things that you've been wanting to do for so long, whether that is learning how to sew and being able to mend things for people for a cost, or learning how to video edit and getting some online jobs for that, or you name it. It could be worthwhile considering building up these skills that in the long run could help you earn extra cash. Do you want to take an online course? Like, it could mean a small investment now, because you know that the financial crisis is not going to last for forever, but yet you want to set yourself up for a better financial position in the future. It could be worth just investing in yourself and skill sets.
Yeah, if you have an education or book stipend through your employer, now is the time to use it and take those courses, get those certifications, and become more promotable. And more eligible for raises and better jobs.
Yep.
This is a great time to do that. Our next article is one we feel very strongly about.
Yes.
And it's from Very Well Mind, and it's called Dealing with the Stress of a Financial Crisis.
That stress is real.
Yeah. Cash rules everything around me. I don't know about you.
Yes.
But because
you take away my money.
Because of that, it has a significant impact on anxiety levels, depression symptoms, you name it, like panic attacks, anything.
Yeah. You need money to live.
Yes.
And if the money goes away, it affects every other aspect of life, including relationships and emotional well-being.
Right. So it is so important to take care of yourself during something like this. So we really want to go over this and pick this one apart fully. So
AI might be the most important new computer technology ever. It's storming every industry, and literally billions of dollars are being invested. So buckle up. The problem is that AI needs a lot of speed and processing power. So how do you compete without costs spiraling out of control? It's time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a single platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs. OCI has 4 to 8 times the bandwidth of other clouds, offers one consistent price instead of variable regional pricing, and of course, nobody does data better than Oracle. So now you can train your AI models at twice the speed and less than half the cost of other clouds. If you want to do more and spend less, like Uber, 8x8, and Databricks Mosaic, take a free test drive of OCI at oracle.com/strategic. That's oracle.com/strategic. oracle.com/strategic.
We know New Year's resolutions often don't stick. In fact, on average, they last around 30 days. So if saving money is on your 2024 resolution list, here's a foolproof way to stick to yours.
Switch your phone provider to Mint Mobile. For a limited time, wireless plans from Mint Mobile are $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. That's unlimited talk, text, and data for $15 a month.
For those of you paying close to $40 a month for just one phone line, this means a savings of $300 over the course of the year. We especially like Mint because all plans come with unlimited talk and text and high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network.
To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/frugal. That's mintmobile.com/frugal. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/frugal. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
The first thing they highlight is to remain calm. So I'm sure
Not panic, you mean? Not panic?
I am sure that you have heard this. If you follow anybody really in the financial space, I've just seen everyone I know posting things to like calm down. Like let's just like take a step
Which
back,
always
breathe.
helps, right? Like,
right.
You're being crazy. Calm down. That never works.
No.
So, yeah.
But like, it's important to understand, like when we feel threatened, our fight or flight response takes over. That's natural. That is our body's stress response. That's good. But it increases our heart rate. It increases our stress hormones. It just does like weird things to our body if left unchecked for too long. Yeah. And so I think it's important to intentionally remind ourselves to stay calm and like not just remind ourselves, but do a few different things to do that. So breathing exercises, progressive muscle relaxation, that's PMR, something that's been getting more and more traction as a stress reliever. I really like journaling. I like to do it when I have a lot of anxiety and something on my mind. I write it out and then I can actually go back to it like years down the road when I have another time of stress and anxiety and I could see what happened back then and how I evolved and how I came out of it and how I was provided for and stuff. So I really like journaling for that aspect.
And certainly none of these things are going to fix the situation.
No.
We're not saying, oh, deep breathing and then everything will be fine. No, we recognize that it's deeper than that. However, even though these things come across as so simple and silly, they do have profound impacts on our bodies and the way that we manage stress. And so the important thing to recognize with anxiety is it's not something to fully be ignored. Anxiety tells us that there's something wrong. Where it can go awry is when it's not connected to anything. And it's just this constant feeling of anxiety. Like you said, the fight, flight, freeze mode. And if we're constantly living in that state, it can have profound damaging impacts on our bodies in the long term. And so these are proven ways to help reduce the impact of being in that fight, flight, freeze mode so that our bodies don't experience those long-term damaging effects.
Yeah. And the goal isn't to forget about what's going on. It's to calm your mind enough so that you can make rational decisions.
You can use your thinking logical brain.
Yeah, that is
anxiety
the goal.
Hijacks your logical brain. And so being able to calm yourself to the point of tapping into your thinking brain, that helps.
Yeah.
There's real science behind it.
Science.
Okay. So the next thing is to learn how to reframe the situation. And basically what that means is gaining a different perspective. And so it's important, I think, to recognize what is this financial crisis linked to in order to find a helpful reframe for yourself. So sometimes we may feel as though we're in a financial crisis because of a personal failure. That's a really tough one where, okay, I made a mistake and I am reaping the really unfortunate consequences of this. And it can bring a lot of shame attached to it. That's a tough emotional thing to push through. But if we can recognize that others have been there, we all make mistakes, and it is possible to move through this and make wise choices in the future. We're far better off with grasping and holding on to those thoughts than wallowing in the shame and guilt of I'm in this position because of me.
Yeah.
sitting in that place, setting up tent there will do us no good for moving forward. So it's okay to recognize this is why I'm here, but what is the narrative that keeps going in my head, and how can I reframe that? Another thing would be, okay, maybe we're stuck on the impact on our family. Like, how am I going to get out of this? This is, how am I going to care for my kids or my aging parent, or you name it. And again, to remind yourself of people have gotten through this, and certainly make a plan. We'll get there, but make a plan, come up with steps that can be taken. But again, being careful to not set up tent in this place that's doing us no help in moving forward. And then just where there's uncertainty, like, I don't know what's going to happen next. Okay, well, what can I set my hands to? What is a helpful narrative in my mind? I think pushing through the difficulty and identifying where there are kindnesses. I don't know if you've listened to this podcast at all, you've heard me use that phrase before. It just really resonates with me, of looking for the kindnesses. We absolutely can get caught up in looking at all of the bad and all of the negative, but again, that doesn't help us in moving forward. It's okay to look at it, acknowledge it with honesty that this is where we're at, but also where are the little pieces of kindnesses that I can invest my emotional time and energy into. That if the most of my time and energy is going to, I'm a failure, we're never going to get out of this, who knows when this is going to end, this is never going to end. Yeah, we're going to live out of that place, and we're going to reflect what it is that we're telling us about that situation versus, yep, I made some poor decisions, or yes, this is a really crappy thing that is happening to me that I had no control over, but here is where I do have voice and choice in the situation. Here's where I see some little pieces of kindnesses that I am grateful for, and I can move into those areas and invest my time and energy there.
Yeah, good word. The last thing on here is to ask for help.
Yeah.
Ask for help. I'll say it again. Ask for help.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard. I personally am the person that says I need to be able to handle every situation at every time on my own, or that says something poor about my character.
Our identity can be wrapped up in that.
Is.
Like,
yeah.
I do this thing on my own, and that's why I'm a boss lady. Like that. Yeah. So that completely rails against that.
Yeah. But we are a community.
Yeah.
We were built for community.
Yeah.
And if you are having a hard time with something, then there is no shame and no guilt. And it says nothing about you that you're asking for help, except that you want to get better.
Yeah.
And you know your limits as a person. Knowing your limits as a person is a very underrated quality.
Yes.
Yeah.
Knowing your capacity, knowing where you stop and start. Yeah.
Yeah. So the first people that you would ask is friends and family. So the people that love you don't want to see you suffer alone. And so that could mean, say, like calling up a friend or family member and saying, like, this is where I'm at. Like, I need work, or I need groceries, or I need something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is why we even titled 2 years ago Frugal Friends podcast. I think we realized, not that we were the first to realize this, but in this journey and in doing something that is against the grain, it requires community and friendship. It requires fun and laughter and understanding and shared tips and collective wisdom to be able to move through the ebbs and flows of life and finances. And so, yes, please, permission to be able to reach out to friends, family, community. If you don't have that, please take advantage of our Frugal Friends Facebook community group, or in addition to what you have. I think that we can gain a lot from one another as we interact and share our tips, or even be willing to say, yeah, everyone, I'm really struggling. We've had some people do that within our group, and it's a beautiful thing to see people share and then to have others say, yeah, me too, I'm there, which helps us know, phew, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
But then you've got people who aren't in that situation able to encourage and say, yeah, I was there, and here's some things that helped me. A beautiful thing when we are able to engage with community and share just what we're going through.
Yeah, definitely.
And definitely we are whole people. It's not just one thing that's going to bring alleviation to the stress and overwhelm that we feel. Yes, friends and family are fantastic. Yes, breathing exercises are fantastic. But where we feel as though these things are falling short and we need a bit more, there is also no shame in asking for help from mental health professionals, going to your doctor, seeing a counselor or a therapist. I would actually recommend that people do this at least once in their life, regardless of what kind of season that they're in, and bringing in kind of a holistic approach, particularly in a time of suffering and pain, financial crisis. And certainly, so a few markers, if this is you, a few things to consider with seeking mental health professionals is if you are going through an overwhelming sense of hopelessness, if there are long-lasting loss of interest in activities that you usually enjoy, or general feelings that, yeah, I probably should get some help, right? Sometimes that just goes in your mind, like, yeah, I probably should see a counselor. Yeah, if those words are coming out of your mouth or they're running through your head often, this is definitely something to consider. And certainly patterns, where you start to see patterns of it's becoming difficult to engage in regular activities, or the things that usually bring you joy are not bringing you joy anymore. You're struggling to find hope. These are the indicators that additional help could be useful to you. So if you're seeing that in yourself, please reach out.
And if you don't have enough money in your regular budget, use your emergency fund.
Yeah.
This is a fine use of your emergency fund, keeping you mentally stable and happier and able to do more mentally is the reason your emergency fund is around, like to support you in challenging times that are not long lasting, but they're for some certain crisis. And I would say that I've already seen friends and family who've had an uptick in their anxiety or depressive symptoms. And so if you are feeling that as a result of any financial crisis, then go. Do it.
And I'll also say, check with your employer. A lot of employers will offer what's called EAP, which is an employee assistance program. So that their benefits where sometimes your first 3 appointments are fully paid for just through an EAP program. And you could also talk to a therapist and say, look, I am in a financial crisis, which is why I'm coming to you, but I also need as much help as possible in as few sessions as possible.
Right.
Not to put the pressure on, but it is possible that you could experience some level of relief or tools within 3 to 6 sessions than maybe a more long-term approach. So even letting your therapist know that, like, you're looking for 3 to 6 sessions just to kind of contain some of the symptoms that you're experiencing, that can be really helpful. And you might be able to gain some really good things in a short amount of time.
Yeah. I think so. Also, we have a coupon for online counseling. I think it's $100 off. I think maybe your first 2 or 3 sessions on Talkspace. So we'll have that up at frugalfriendspodcast.com/Talkspace. And the actual terms will be up there when you check it. But yeah, it's $100 off, and you don't have to leave the house. So if you are self-quarantined, then you are good.
Perfect.
Another thing that you might need to ask for help with is your actual finances. So seeking a financial advisor if you are feeling stress about your 401k or your retirement, before you make any decisions, seek some professional help. It's really a necessity in a time like this. Don't touch anything until you talk to a professional.
Yeah. You know what else is important to do during times like these?
Yeah. To ask for
the bill of the week.
That's right. It's time for the best minute of your entire week. Maybe a baby was born and his name is William. Maybe you paid off your mortgage. Maybe your car died and you're happy to not have to pay that bill anymore. Duck bills, Buffalo Bills, Bill Clinton. This is the bill of the week.
Okay, so we didn't have enough recordings, so I called my friend Jessica and asked her to leave us a bill of the week. So I have her on speakerphone right now, and she's just going to say her bill into this microphone.
Thanks, Jessica.
Thanks, Jessica. Take it away.
Hey, guys. My name's Jessica. Yet, like Jen said, I'm also from St. Petersburg, where she is. And I found out that we have a famous Bill here in St. Petersburg. He's a William, but that still counts. His name was John Williams, and he is the co-founder of our city, St. Pete. He is also who the Williams Park is named after, which was our city's first park. And then I also found out that there's a famous architect who, you guessed it, is also William Harvard, another Bill, who designed the grandstand pavilion that's in the middle of the park. He also built the St. Petersburg Pier, the inverted pyramid that's no longer there, and the Central Library on 9th Avenue that I know Jen has visited and that I grew up going to as a kid. So we have these great Bills who were so impactful in our city, and so they're my favorite.
Awesome. Thanks, Jessica. I'm going to hang up on you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Yes.
I'm going to hang up on you. That's all we need. We got what we needed.
We got what we need.
Oh, that's apparently the name Bill was just the most common name
Well,
back then and in St. Pete.
St. Pete is such a cool city. Can you expect anything different?
I'm so excited about it.
Yeah. Duh.
We can't get enough bills.
Yeah.
Clearly, because we have to call Jessica.
Yeah. We're also ahead of recording, so we've used our
true.
backlog.
That's true.
And so all that said, we need your bills.
Mm-hmm.
So we are in dire need. So call us with your bills. Gosh, it's been like a year and a half since we had to do this. So leave it at frugalfriendspodcast.com/bill and leave us a voicemail. And if for some reason you've done that and you haven't heard your bill and you did it more than 2 months ago, do it again, because that means we did not get it.
Yes, that means it got lost.
Yeah.
In the abyss.
Yeah, we don't just not choose bills.
Yeah,
we do them all.
We play them all.
Yeah.
All the bills have been aired.
All the bills.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, I'm Martine Hackett, and I'm hosting the second season of Untold Stories, Life with a Severe Autoimmune Condition, a production from Ruby Studio in partnership with Argenix, sharing real stories of MG, CIDP, and other autoimmune conditions. We hope to share inspiration and educate the larger community about these severe and often overlooked conditions.
I can't fix this. I can't cure this. And, I'll take my treatment day by day, but I want to try to be engaged, be involved, or be as helpful as I feel I can with the limitations I have of working full time to children. So I participate in market research to provide information to hopefully benefit others, because it's a small margin of people that have the myasthenia, but then to get pregnant, it's an even more narrow margin. And you can't ever have too much information as an epidemiologist.
Yeah, exactly, right? Listen to Untold Stories, Life with a Severe Autoimmune Condition on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Shopping for humans is hard. Shopping for your dog is easy thanks to Bark. Every month, we deliver toys and treats just for your dog. They deserve to be spoiled anyway. At Bark, we send your dog a whole new collection of toys and treats made just for them every single month. Whether it's our fun plush toys from BarkBox or our ultra tough toys from Super Chewer, we give your dog exactly what they want. For a limited time, we'll double your first box for free. To get your free upgrade, go to barkbox.com/iHeart.
Well, that brings us to our lightning round.
Today's lightning round is
Brought to you by... We don't do
nothing.
that. That's a new thing.
We are talking about what we are doing personally to prepare. Because like we said before, we are freelancers and we are self-employed.
Yeah.
So this is impacting us. We don't know how it's going to impact us.
Yeah. But we
Point
feel
blank.
like we have to keep working. So there's little to no fun in it because you still have to figure out how to get money.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we're going to have fun right now. Jen, what are you doing?
So the first thing I'm doing is I've made a longer and simpler meal plan.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So I'm taking a pause from I have this meal recipe book that I'm doing, and I'm just doing those over and over. And those are kind of simple, but I'm going even simpler, like staples.
Yeah.
So the beans and rice, the pasta, but I'm still trying to do it healthily. So frozen veggies.
Yes.
Things that are a little more sustainable, but
you can keep
simpler.
around, less expensive.
Yeah.
What do you mean by longer meal plans?
So instead of purchasing for a week, I'm going to start purchasing for 2 weeks, but repeating the meal plan for the second week.
Whoa.
So I'm buying the same thing, but I can buy a bulk version of it and save a little more.
Oh, and then that makes it so nice because then you're done for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be repeat. You've already done the next 2 Tuesdays.
Yeah, but maybe
Wednesdays.
switching up some veggies or something, doing something to make them unique.
Yeah, you gotta you gotta keep some spice, keep some flair. Do a little jig like this. All right.
Yeah. Nobody in the podcast can see us right now, but if you're watching on YouTube,
Yeah. It's getting to be a party over here. All right.
Jill, what are you doing?
I'm not panicking. That's what I'm doing. I'm just going to keep calm and carry on.
Keep calm.
I'm just going to keep dancing. Actually, dancing is good for me. This feels therapeutic.
I should have stopped.
We both should have stopped, but I'm like, she keeps going, so I keep going. Okay.
Yes.
So also, I'm cooking at home more. So kind of similar to what you described. I don't really think about what I'm going to do as much as you do. I'm a little bit more like I get the staples and then I kind of know what to do, but I don't want to block myself
You're a little
in
more free-spirited.
every day is kind of like, what's it going to be? Who knows? Maybe some
I know.
Maybe some chicken and squash, maybe some potatoes.
Maybe.
Yep. So cooking more at home it saves me more money and I go out less and I spend less tip. Tip is where it gets me.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing I'm doing is taking on extra work.
Yeah,
right
you
now.
are. Yeah, you are.
So there has been a little uptick in work with everything that's going on in financial media. So I've taken on more work because I don't know what next month is going to be like. I don't know what the month after that is going to be like.
Yeah.
So I'm not putting myself in dire straits and working all day, but I do know I have my limits and what I'll take and where I'm full, but I'm going a little bit beyond that right now.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's wise, again, not to completely stress or max yourself out. But if there's the potential to do well right now, that's amazing.
Yeah, if there's the potential to do some overtime or take on something extra or do a side hustle that you more than you normally would, I think now might be the time.
I am also reevaluating my budget. So really looking at where can I fully pare down? Where do I feel as though maybe I'm spending a little bit more than I need to? If you listen to episode 100, you know that Eric and I paid off our debt. What? So that is amazing. And I am so grateful. I know that is not everyone's story right now. We're all at different points in our financial journey, but I am very grateful at the timeline of that, of where that landed. We didn't know what we were heading into come March, and Eric and I paid off our debt in February. So that has been a kindness in the midst of what's going on financially for us and for a lot of people worldwide. But even still, as much as that has freed up some money, I'm evaluating even further that where I've had a miscellaneous budget or food or entertainment budget, where I can kind of like pull back even more to really make sure, and we're okay. But I think with not knowing exactly how long any given personal financial crisis is going to last, that how do I make this stretch as much as possible so that I'm not in a really dire situation. So for me right now, it's not the time for extra luxuries. I am rethinking, where I might typically say, okay, this thing's wearing out. I need to look to replace XYZ. I'm kind of saying, no, let's make it last a little bit longer or find ways to do without. So
Yeah. And we would love to know what you are doing to stay calm, prepare, preserve, what have you. So hang out with us in our Frugal Friends community on Facebook and start a thread there so people can share encouragement. We're not there to share, that we bought all the toilet paper in our city.
and that's not something to be proud of.
No. So, but yeah, hang out with us there. Be with us in community.
Yeah.
And we'll make each other feel better. And it'll be good. So thank you so much for listening. And we really do take our roles in this really seriously.
Yeah.
We think that frugality is going to become even more important than it already was.
Yeah.
And so we are going to be here. Like we said we're sticking around. We're not going anywhere. We don't make a ton of money on this. And honestly, it's really hard to find sponsors for the show right now. So we're not making anything off of this right now.
Still doing it though.
Yeah. And so we really do value you and appreciate you and thank you for listening and leaving reviews. And those help sponsors know that we're a show that is legit and listened to. So like this one that says unexpectedly loving it. And it's from
the title.
Sherry Lee's, I think. But it says, the first time I tuned in about a year ago, I thought this was going to be two hippy dippy ladies telling me to pee in a repurposed coffee can to save money. Lo and behold, these ladies are now my favorite driving buddies. Their sense of humor is right on par with my own. They dissect financial information in a fun way, have awesome guests, and have real people perspective on money and life. I just listened to the latest podcast and almost drove off the road laughing at Jen needing a life-size Barbie friend. Thank you so much, Frugal Friends. I could come in handy when your kid's quarantined. Yes. I'm just saying.
Yes.
Maybe if you have an only child, you get her a life-size Barbie right now.
Maybe we should get to the point of recommending peeing in repurposed coffee cans. That's not a bad idea.
I don't know.
I don't know the purpose of that. I can't really foresee why that would be necessary.
I was listening to the S-Town podcast, and that guy peed in a sink because you can flush it out with 1 cup of water versus the, 2 or 3 gallons from the toilet. I get it. I'm not saying do it.
Yeah. You can. Okay.
Anyways.
We're going to move on. No, I caught myself, and you're welcome. So we also want to thank our friends who share these episodes on social media. So when you share the latest episode and tag us on Facebook or Instagram, we're going to add you to our monthly drawing. And so for every 5 tags that we get, so again, it's the latest episode that you have to tag us in. And for every review that's submitted, we pick 1 winner out of every 5, and we give away $10 Amazon gift cards monthly. Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
those could come in handy.
Those could. So keep leaving us reviews on iTunes and sending the screenshots to frugalfriendspodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to tag us on Instagram or Facebook @Frugal Friends Podcast when you share the episode in your feed or your stories.
Perfect. See you next week.
See ya. Stay safe out there. Frugal Friends is produced, edited, and mixed by Eric Sirianni. Yeah, can I just talk about the sponsor thing?
Yeah, let's do it.
So that is what, I mean, that's what that's one of my responsibilities in the show. And sponsors that have previously sponsored other podcasts are just not sponsoring right now, podcasts right now.
Yeah.
And it's not because we're not doing well. We are doing better than those other podcasts. We have a more engaged listenership.
What?
Yeah.
Better than most? What is
We're in the top 10% of podcasts from what I hear.
It's exciting. That's because of our listeners. It's because of our frugal friends. So we really can't say anything. Thank you.
Yeah.
Other than thank you.
But businesses are not sponsoring podcasts because they cannot directly correlate that their ad dollars on podcasts are generating revenue, because it's hard. Because we'll say, do this at frugalfriendspodcast.com/this, or you could just Google it.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
That's what I do. You can't remember, most people are visual, that you're more, or tactile, if there's an opportunity to actually click a button. But when you're just hearing it, it's not as likely.
Yeah. So it's been
I think
frustrating.
it'll change. I think podcasting is still growing, and I think marketing needs to catch up with that. So if you're a marketing person, get on our level.
Yeah.
But otherwise, should we just mow lawns or something instead?
Maybe that's what people are doing right outside the window. But yeah, I mean, and we are not. So the reason sponsorships are important to us is because we would rather ask companies for money than ask our listeners for money. We do plan on, selling some merchandise and items in the future,
which
but
they're going to be dope. They're going to be so excited.
Yeah, because they're going to be dope. Not because we need that money.
I'm going to buy our own merchandise for double the price.
So that's what we want to do for that. We don't want to rely on that for income.
Yeah.
And we don't want to open a Patreon where we say hey, give us $5 a month so you can get an extra episode.
Yeah, because I'm gonna recommend to my frugal friends don't pay for that stuff. Get it when it's free.
Yeah.
So how am I gonna do that?
We're asking the people with money, with marketing budgets, for their money to keep this show going, to make it worth our time.
Yeah.
So that's why sponsorships are important to us, and we think they're a great use of people's money that have a marketing budget.
Yeah, where we have been able to track it, I think, we have seen some great listeners utilizing what we talk about.
So maybe here's a way that our listeners can help. If you've listened this long, if you have ever used something that we have recommended, then you email us or post it on social, and we'll take a screenshot or something. Say, I heard about it on the Frugal Friends podcast. And so that's something that we can give to businesses when we approach them for sponsorship.
Yeah. And again, it's not as if we're throwing anything at the wall. We want sponsors who we believe have good services or products that we ourselves would use and that we actually think save people money.
Because, protein powders have approached us to sponsor the podcast.
LOL. Not that,
some kind
go
of
ahead
slippers,
and
I think, or stockings or something.
That's fine. Those things are worthwhile if that's what you're into. But
so
I'm not going to tell my frugal friends to do that.
Yeah, there are businesses that want to sponsor podcasts, but there's not a lot of businesses that we think are really relevant and useful. And so that's why we're picky. And maybe I'm just too picky. Maybe that's why I was single for so long.
Well, good thing, because you found your man.
I know, right? And that's the same with the sponsors. I'm going to find the right sponsors.
Yeah. Yeah, you be patient. You be patient.
A lot of fish in the sea.
A lot of fish in the sea.
With the best all-inclusive vacation deals to Mexico and the Caribbean, booking your getaway with Cheap Caribbean Vacations means you have more freedom to do your deal. Whether you want to enjoy snorkeling, endless margaritas and more, or simply soak up the sun and sand in a tropical paradise, Cheap Caribbean Vacations has your deal for that. Plan and book the exact getaway you want at exactly the right price for you by using our exclusive budget Beach Finder, or find a featured all-inclusive package and do your deal at cheapcaribbean.com.
Have you heard about Vyvgart, F-Gard Tigamod Alpha FCAB? Ask your neurologist if Vyvgart could be right for you and learn more at vyvgart.com/learn. That's VYVGART.com/learn. Brought to you by argenx.